name's Joanie Fay, owner of JFay Fitness. I serve busy adults who are looking to jumpstart or, restart their fitness and nutrition goals.
Amazing. Take me back. What first drew you to the fitness world?
It was a side hobby actually that drove me in this direction. I purchased, an at-home spin bike and was just doing my own thing. And ride after ride, I started accumulating more and more. And when I hit about 500 rides at home by myself, I had some family members that said, why don't you look into getting certified to teach us? Like you seem like you really enjoy teaching it. You love taking the classes. And at first I kind of blew it off. And then more I did it, I was walking around my 9-to-5 job that I had at the time, and an industry that was great. It was just not what I wanted to do for another 20, 30 years. I had no passion for it. And I said, okay, I'm going to get certified. I'm going to have this kind of, maybe just as a side hobby. And so I got certified, started teaching regular spin class once a week and subbing at various big box gym locations. And just after probably a couple months of having a regular class, that was it for me. I said, how do I get into the fitness world full time? Spin class is not enough for a full time job. It's not good on the body to do it that much. So I basically tried to think what's going to work, what would I enjoy, and I went back to school through NASM, the National Academy of Sports Medicine, to get my personal training certification done through them. Took several months, and then I took the exam, passed, and then I had to do the in-person requirement training on-site exam at a local gym to get hired. I did that, and then slowly worked to build up my books to be able to walk away from my 9-to-5 job and make training my full-time job. So
Wow.
that's the gist of how I got into this field.
Yeah, that's amazing though that you were able to build up and really transition full time into doing something that you love and that, sparks that joy and that passion. So it's beautiful. You say it's never too late to live healthy, strong, and happy. What does that philosophy mean to you and your clients?
It hits home for me, and I pass it on and eat, sleep, and breathe it, for my clients, because I was not a fitness kid. I did some little sports or dance class here and there, but, I wasn't an athlete by any means. And, in my 20s, I wasn't the picture of health. I had some weight issues and my own health and fitness journey that I went through more so in my 30s. And so that's where I say it's never too late. And I train people at 40 and above, most of my clients. And one of my oldest clients, near 80 years old, and someone that just started to exercise more and strength train. And it's just proof it's never too late. And there's always a chance to start or restart if you've been out of the game for a while.
Ooh, I love that. It's inspiring. What's been one of the most rewarding client transformations that you've gotten to witness?
Oh, that's a tough one.
If you can think of one, we can come back to it as well.
Yeah, I have had so many great clients, and one of which has been my dad, family first, so I can't help it. I would have to say the coolest thing has been training my dad. He loves baseball. Our family, born and raised Yankee fans, you don't have a choice. My parents are from New York. And so I've been to all the games. And then my dad just, he's a perfect example. It's never too late to start. He was in his roughly 40s and decided he was going to do a adult men's rec league baseball team. And he did it for a while and wanted to, get better and better at playing and batting and all that stuff and fielding. And so he started training with me. And to see the progress on the field, when he's strength training with me and doing the cardio on his own, and then seeing him play after play do so well, that I think that was one of the coolest journeys to give back to someone who, paid for my college education and, helped raise me. So I thought that was really cool.
Oh, love that. Thank you so much for sharing that story. Wow. You've built your approach around the 3 M's: movement, motivation, and my favorite, music. How do these 3 pillars guide every client session?
Movement's just part of the session, whether it's the first few minutes of dynamic warm-ups, the mobility work to get you primed and ready for that strength workout. Since with me, you're mainly focusing on strength. So there's your movement, motivation, there's going to be some exercises that clients think are just, there's no way I can do that. Or, oh, well, you demonstrated, you made it look easy, and now I'm doing it, it's way harder. Well, I've also done it thousands of times, in demonstrating different exercises. But to, keep encouraging that, yes, you can do it. And to see the look on their face when they do something like their first deadlift, it's amazing. The big heavy lifts, I think, are some of the most fun. And then music, that came from my days as a cycle instructor, which I still am, on the weekends for fun. I have my regular Saturday class, and the music is ties into the motivation, and people love stuff that, gets them excited. So I always check to see, is there certain music you want to listen to in here? Because I will custom make a Spotify playlist for you. Or if it's just, I just want upbeat stuff, then I wing it. And, sometimes it's fun to see the surprise in their face, like, oh, I haven't heard this jam in a minute. So it's just a little bonus to keep you going.
Yeah, I love that. The motivation was making me think of how I always need a little extra dose of motivation when I'm doing Bulgarian split squats.
Oh my goodness, that's a tough one. So
no one likes to do those. I've written, little workout plans for friends before, and I put those on there. I put a deadlift, and they're like, no. But
it's good for you.
It is good for you. And then the music. I mean, I always have my husband pick a few songs to play me when I do hack squat because I hate it so much. And I'm like, you need to surprise me with some songs. Think about this during the week and then hit me with a little surprise when I have to do hack squats.
So you get it.
Yeah, I get it. And it really makes a world of a difference.
Totally.
That's awesome. How do you make fitness fun and enjoyable aside from kind of what you just said, even for people who feel intimidated by the idea of working out?
I think a big part of it is, meet people where they're at. Every client I start with is coming from a different starting point. Some have never strength trained or had regular workouts, and some, were athletes in college and now they're in their 50s and, they took some time off and they were raising kids and life got busy, and I completely get that. So it's meeting people where they're at and not overloading them too much, easing into it and giving them a good foundation so that they can succeed and they don't feel overwhelmed.
Totally. Yeah, and I think overwhelm is the biggest thing that kind of deters people from sticking with fitness or sticking with a plan or a coach. They just get overwhelmed. They're like, oh, I'm at this point and I don't know how I'm going to be able to get to this point or get to, where this professional athlete is. And it's again, what you said, meeting them where they're at and not shaming them for not being further along. It makes a world of a difference again. I wanted to touch on nutrition coaching as well. What role does this play in helping your clients achieve sustainable results, since nutrition and fitness are so closely intertwined?
Yes. It's the more I got into, once I started my own business, I preach so much about how you can't out-train a bad diet, and nutrition and fitness, it all goes hand in hand. So you have to dial them both in very well, and it takes time. So with that, I continued my education to get my nutrition coaching certification to offer that as well. I am always touching base with my clients, seeing where they're at with their own meal preps, or are there some foods that they're kind of are getting old if they're trying to hit their protein goals or their fat or carb, macro goals, and what do we need to tweak? Here's some ideas, just kind of going back and forth and figuring out what works and what may need to shift here and there.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like there's so much talk about hitting the protein goal nowadays. Everything has that little extra protein and it is helpful. But yeah, no, definitely. Why is accountability such a critical piece of your business model, and how do you build it into your client relationships?
Sure. Yeah, accountability, I mean, it's one of the main reasons that trainers exist. And there's some other critical things, form and making sure everybody does their exercises correctly and all that to prevent injury, especially when it comes to strength training. But accountability is such a big part of it because, I can't tell you how many times I've had a client come into my space and say, if I didn't have this 10 a.m. appointment every Tuesday, Thursday, whatever the case may be, because most clients are 2 to 3 times a week training with me, I wouldn't do it. I know I wouldn't do it. And it varies per person. There's clients that only feel the need to work with a trainer until they graduate, and reach their goals. And then they want to maintain on their own and they want to try and do it by themselves. And that's great. I wish that for everybody. But it varies person to person when it comes to accountability. There's clients I've trained for 1 or 2 years, and then they're like, I got this. I'm going to take it from here, and I'm your biggest cheerleader. Please check in with me. You still know me. It doesn't mean once you're not in face to face with me twice a week. No, like text me, show me if you need some form Q-tips, shoot me a video. I'm here. The relationship is always there. But then there's clients I've trained and I'm going on, 5 years now with one of my clients. It's just, it's a matter of if I don't have this, I will not do it. So whatever works for each person, that accountability was so key.
Yeah, and different personality types respond to different types of accountability differently too. Like some people that I've known need either a workout buddy at all times or a trainer at all times, and they literally cannot get it done on their own. And I get it, 'cause sometimes I'm like, oh, I understand that. But yeah, so that's awesome that you're open to kind of both types of relationships.
Sure.
And then that you keep checking in on them too. That's awesome.
Yeah, I want them to succeed long term. That's part of the relationship. It doesn't stop in the space that we train in. I want to hear the little wins they have on their own.
How do you balance being both a motivator and a coach, pushing clients while also respecting their individual needs and limits?
I think that's where my undergrad psych degree comes into play. I think, it has served me well in any job I've had. This one for sure, the interaction you have with people, just seeing what drives them, what makes their day when it comes to certain exercises, what motivation they need on. Yes, there's always going to be those exercises people don't want to do, single leg exercises, some of the heavier lifts, may not be the day that you feel like doing it, but I'm here to coach you through it and help motivate you, but also respect the boundaries of if you're just really having that awful day and this one exercise is just not working, and it's, then that is a time for any good trainer to pivot and modify as we need to and give an alternative exercise for that day that still works the same muscle groups, but is not quite as demanding, something that they can handle that day, because not every day in the gym is perfect. We know that. And there's days you don't even want to show up and you're dragging yourselves in there. So
yeah, sometimes it's just about keeping that routine in place too. Like some hard days I've had, I just am like, okay, I'll go and do at least one exercise. And then once I'm there, I kind of get into it a little bit more, but sometimes it really is just about showing up. So I get it. But yeah, that's awesome. And not everyone can have like an amazing mindset day every day too.
Exactly.
And if they're forced to like do this horrible workout that they are not in the mood to do, or not horrible workout on your part, but you know what I mean?
No, I get it.
Exercises that they feel like are horrible and they just don't want to do that day, and their mindset's already like not the greatest because it's been a long day, that can associate negativity with exercise, and you never want to like mess up that relationship. So that's where what you said is key, like really meeting them where they're at in terms of their needs and limits. So that's really amazing. I wanted to touch on the InBody 270 scans that you offer as part of your packages. Why is tracking data and results so important for motivation and success?
It's super important. And, I learned that in my experience, working in the big box gym before I went on my own. A lot of gyms now have an InBody model of some sorts to see your body composition, because that number on the home scale that we have is, I say it to my clients all the time, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That number is garbage. What matters is how much muscle you have and what your body fat percentage is. Those track your overall health much better and show, where you're at and where your goals need to be to, continue to build lean muscle, to get stronger as you age, to help with balance, to help with stability, to help regulate your metabolism. Muscle, it's your powerhouse for that. To be able to see on black and white on a printed piece of paper that they take home once a month when they get on the InBody in my space, to see where their progress is going. And it's never, like I say, it's never pass fail. If it's not going the way you wanted that month because life happens, maybe it's a vacation, maybe it's a crazy workload and you didn't get the nutrition dialed in as well, but you got the workouts in, it's going to show on there. And then we just say, hey, we need to tweak it. We need to step it up a notch on the macros. Let's go into detail on the fat or the protein, carbs, all the above. What do we need to reflect and shift for next month? So it helps to see that month over month, to be able to work on the goals and reset when we need to. versus just getting on that scale and the number not really jiving with what you think it should, and then there goes your motivation. So, and that's also why it's on my website. I've always offered, once you're a client with me, whether it's 6 months, 5 years, I don't care. You're a client for life in the sense that you can touch base with me and say, hey, can I pop in this weekend, or when you have a break in the middle of the day, and pop in and get on the InBody. It takes 15 seconds. Yeah. I want to see where you're at. I want you to see that you're making progress on your own. And if you need to tweak something, well, there's the data. So I think it's so important.
Yeah, no, I love the InBody, and I love the data that it provides too, because sometimes too, you think that you look a certain way, body dysmorphia runs kind of rampant. But then like I've had the experience in big box gyms, of course, but like standing on the InBody a few years later and I see like, oh, like maybe I weigh more, but like look at all this muscle.
Exactly.
It's crazy. And then I've known people too who have stood on the InBody and like when they go to the doctor's office, they're classified overweight, but then their body fat percentage is super low and they have all this muscle. So it really is empowering to have that objective like InBody data. So I'm a fan of it. And I love that you let people come back in too. And since
Sure.
they are a client for life and you can kind of see where they're at. And I'm sure it's always great. So that's awesome. How has virtual training expanded your ability to reach and support clients across different states?
It's the great technology of being able to Zoom, FaceTime, whatever the platform that works for both of us. And because I've had clients that have moved, or clients that, friends, or friend of a friend that I know that lives in somewhere like North Carolina that has some equipment at home, wants the guidance, doesn't want to go into a gym. Some people have that gym phobia where they just rather do it at home, and I respect that. Then we get on, we set a time, and I'm there, and I just no, I can't touch to help with form, but I can verbally cue you very well. I can demonstrate and see what's going on, and it's the closest thing to being in my space. So we get to make it happen that way, which is really nice.
Yeah. And did you start doing that like after COVID, like sort of when Zoom was more at the forefront of things, or did you do it beforehand as well?
Oh, I was doing it from day one of going on my own, because when I decided to not wait out when gyms were going to reopen, if I was going to have a job, because I loved what I did and there was no way I was going to lose that opportunity, I said, all right, I'm going to go on my own. And so my initial clients were all virtual because nobody was leaving their house. So even the clients that said, I'm looking around, I don't have much equipment. I said, what do you got? I got some bands, a couple dumbbells. Got it. We can make that work. That plus body weight. You'd be surprised how creative trainers can be. So excess equipment is not necessary to reach your goals. So I worked with whatever they had. And then as more places started to open up, people felt more comfortable. Then one by one, people started coming to my space. But, there's the people that, like I said, move, or that have always lived in a different state that remain virtual. So.
Cool. Wow. What's one underrated piece of equipment? I know you said you don't need equipment, but what's one underrated piece of equipment or training method that you love using to surprise your clients with results?
I'm going to have to pick two on this one, sorry.
So I'm
going to go heavy and not as heavy. So when we're talking like heavy, I love when I take out the trap bar and we do the trap bar style deadlifts, because it encompasses so many people, especially of the older ages that I work with, that they think deadlifts are dangerous, which they're not with proper form, but even the safer, better alternative is the trap bar style deadlifts. And when they get to see themselves, a little video snippet I take of them so they can see that first lift, I love that. That's my all-time favorite. Second to that, if we're not talking, ultra heavy lifting, that's just a fun piece that I take it out from behind my little storage wall and the eyes light up. What's that? It is the slam ball. Because if you're having a day and you just want to let it out, it's what it sounds like. You slam it and it's filled with sand, so it stops. It doesn't bounce and, hit you in the face like a medicine ball would. There's a difference. So people just love some slam ball. So that's my favorite.
It's not great. Post-work, take out the anger.
Let it go.
Let it all out. I love that. And I am also a fan of trap bar deadlifts. Just a lot of people I feel like think, oh, like I could never do a deadlift. That's just for power lifters. Or that's just for, I hear a lot, that's just for bulky men. And I'm like, what do you mean? Get under that deadlift bar, girl. You could do it.
Yep.
It's so fun. And then everyone's so proud of themselves.
Yeah.
I was proud of myself the first time I did a deadlift. I was like, a deadlift? No way.
I know.
So that's beautiful. You get to witness that.
Yeah.
That'd be a dream. You also host women's wellness events. What inspired you to create these, and how do they tie into your larger mission?
Yeah, that's, something new in the last year. I pace myself since I'm a solo run operation, try not to do too much too quick. So, the first few years were the training and then weaving in the nutrition. And then, as I was approaching year 5, I said, I'm going to get out there. I'm going to get out of my comfort zone again, because that's where, for me, the magic happens. That's where I've had such great moments. So, being 43, going through perimenopause, I've learned a lot. I've done tons of research. And when it comes to nutrition and that, like, that's what I'm certified in, navigating that, just navigating building muscle, all genders, as we age, all this stuff that people want to learn more about. But I geared it, to start off, primarily women, retreats or workshops. The first thing I did was a retreat, but I recently did a nutrition seminar for an entire faculty of a private school. Anyone that wanted to sign up could come, and we just went over an hour of all things nutrition was the main focus. While most of what I'm doing insofar as like the retreat side, when it's an overnight, weekend or more event, then that's typically all women. But here and there, I may be asked by schools or businesses to come in and speak for an hour on strength, nutrition, both, and that's to anybody that wants to join, kind of thing. So it's been a lot of fun, just getting outside of the space of my gym, which is neat.
That sounds so fun. Do you have any plan for the future? Any coming up?
I was asked after a recent nutrition seminar I did at a private school, when's your next retreat, by a couple of ladies. So that's kind of in the planning stages of if we're going to do destination, if it's going to be just a one-day on-site thing at that school, so we'll see what happens. But I'm excited that there's interest, and I should probably get working on like just another public sign-up retreat at some point. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Exciting stuff in the works. Kind of last few questions. What advice do you have for busy adults who feel stuck and need that restart in their fitness journey?
I would say a couple things. One, just one small step at a time. Don't try to do it all at once, because, as you mentioned, that can really just deter people and just pull away their motivation very quickly, because it seems overwhelming. So one small step, whether it's you need to start drinking more water, that's goal number 1. You need more protein, that's goal number 2. More fiber, like piece by piece. Take the small steps. Ask for help when you need it. And then the other biggest thing that, I'm constantly talking about is get outside of your comfort zone. Like I said earlier, that's where the magic happens. It seems scary. I don't like this. It seems a little uncomfortable. That's where growth happens. So you have to get uncomfortable. You have to do the things that are outside of your safety bubble, as I always said about myself. It's easy to stay in the bubble, but great things happen when you take that step outside.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Is there anything else that you want to touch on that I didn't ask you, or that you want to share today?
Just being grateful for all the people that have supported me, especially my husband from day one, when I sat there in fear of the world shutting down and, gyms closed and what am I going to do? And to have that one person that said, go, you can do this on your own, get your LLC, get your business license, you can do this. And at that moment, I didn't think I could do it. So I'm grateful for, all the people that have supported me, especially my clients, along the way. And everyone's just been really amazing. And the initial cycle class that I had, that was my inspiration to go back to school, to do what I do now. I am forever grateful.
The OGs.
Yes.
Shout out to the OGs. Well, thank you, Joanie, so much for coming in and making the time to talk to me today about JFay Fitness and your journey. This has been such an incredible conversation, and I know that our audience is going to really love this episode. So thanks again.